The day humanity snapped, a moment no species will ever forget. Humanity had always been the galaxy's underdog, late to the stars, frail compared to many species, and prone to reckless idealism. They had somehow managed to carve out a niche through diplomacy, trade, and sheer stubbornness. They were the peacemakers, the mediators, the ones who stood between warring factions to remind everyone of the cost of conflict. But on that fateful day, humanity stopped being the galaxy's conscience. They snapped. Chapter 1, The Spark. It began on Amarnas IV, a border world far from Earth, rich in resources but caught in the crossfire of a centuries-long feud between the Zarkali Dominion and the Krithan Accord. Humanity, as usual, had been tasked with maintaining a fragile peace, deploying their diplomats and peacekeepers to prevent escalation. The incident was minor at first glance. A Krithan warlord accused a human relief convoy of smuggling weapons to the Zarkali. Despite evidence to the contrary, the Krithan forces retaliated, bombing a human outpost. Over 3,000 civilians, aid workers, scientists, and their families died in the attack. The galaxy held its breath, expecting humanity to respond with words, not weapons. After all, that was their way. Instead, Earth went silent. Chapter 2, The Quiet Before the Storm. Diplomatic channels went dead, human embassies closed, their ships withdrew from trade routes. It was as if the entire species had collectively turned inward, sealing themselves off from the galaxy. At first, the other species were confused, then concerned. Even the Krithan Accord, notorious for its belligerence, sent envoys to apologize and offer reparations, but humanity gave no reply. Months passed, rumors spread. Some said humanity was preparing for war, others claimed they were abandoning the galaxy entirely, a few laughed it off, saying humans were simply sulking. But then the first retaliation came, and it wasn't anything the galaxy could have predicted. Chapter 3, The Retaliation. The Krithan mining colony on Vernok 7 was the first to fall. A fleet of human ships, sleek and silent, appeared out of hyperspace. No warnings, no declarations of war, just a calculated strike that obliterated the colony's defenses in minutes. But humanity didn't stop there. They deployed nanite swarms to disassemble every piece of infrastructure, every ounce of ore, leaving the colony barren and uninhabitable. The message was clear: you took our resources, so we'll take yours. The galaxy was stunned. This wasn't the humanity they knew. These weren't the peacekeepers, the optimists, the ones who always sought common ground. This was cold, calculated vengeance. The Krithan Accord rallied its fleets, declaring humanity an enemy of the galaxy, but as their armadas moved toward Earth, they found the Sol system fortified beyond recognition. Humanity had used its months of silence to prepare, building weapons and defenses the likes of which no one had ever seen. And they didn't wait for the fight to come to them. Chapter 4, The Blitz. Over the next year, humanity unleashed a campaign of surgical strikes across Krithan and Zarkali territories alike. They dismantled supply chains, destroyed shipyards, and hacked communication networks to sow chaos. But it wasn't just their military might that terrified the galaxy, it was their precision. Every target was chosen with chilling logic, no unnecessary civilian casualties, no wasted effort, just relentless efficiency. For every attack, they left a single message behind, broadcast in every language of the galaxy. We warned you. Even species unaffiliated with the conflict began to fear. Humanity had always been underestimated, seen as fragile and naive. Now, the galaxy realized the truth. Humans had always known how to fight. They had simply chosen not to, until now. Chapter 5, The Turning Point. The Krithan Accord and the Zarkali Dominion, bitter enemies for centuries, were forced into an uneasy alliance. Their fleets converged on a neutral system to plan their counterattack, hoping to overwhelm humanity with sheer numbers. But when their combined armada arrived, they found nothing but silence. No human ships, no defenses, just the shattered remains of their plans. Broadcast live across the galaxy, humanity had infiltrated their meeting, broadcasting every strategy, every secret, to their enemies and allies alike. It was a humiliation no species had ever endured. The alliance crumbled, civil unrest broke out across both empires, and humanity, watching from afar, didn't lift a finger. They didn't need to. Chapter 6, The Aftermath. Within a decade, the Krithan Accord and Zarkali Dominion had collapsed, their once mighty fleets reduced to scattered remnants. Humanity didn't claim their territories or demand reparations, they simply withdrew, leaving the ruins as a warning. The galaxy tried to understand what had happened, to piece together how humanity had transformed so completely. Some argued it was inevitable, that humanity's kindness had always been a mask for their latent ferocity. Others believed the attack on Amarnas IV had broken something deep within them, shattering their trust in the galaxy. But one fact was undeniable: no species would ever forget the day humanity snapped. ###Epilogue, a new era. In the decades that followed, humanity returned to diplomacy, but on their terms, no longer the meek mediators. They became the unyielding arbiters of galactic law. Wars ceased, not out of mutual respect, but out of fear of drawing humanity's ire. Their message was clear: they would not start wars, but they would end them, and when they did, they would end them completely. The galaxy learned to live with this new humanity, wary but grateful, for in their anger, humans had brought peace, a fragile, uneasy peace, but peace nonetheless. And in the quiet corners of the galaxy, old diplomats whispered a saying that would endure for centuries: never mistake humanity's kindness for weakness, for when they snap, they do not bend, they break. Chapter 7, The Embers of Resistance. Not everyone accepted humanity's dominance with open arms. In the shadowy corners of the galaxy, where old grudges simmered and fear bred rebellion, whispers of resistance began to grow. Disparate groups of Krithan loyalists, Zarkali warlords, and opportunistic mercenaries formed secret alliances. They called themselves the Coalition of Freedom and vowed to overthrow humanity's grip on the galaxy, no matter the cost. Their leaders painted humanity as tyrants, brutal overlords masquerading as peacekeepers. They spoke of vengeance, of reclaiming dignity and sovereignty, of breaking the chains humanity had forged. They called for unity in defiance of the galaxy's new arbiters. But humanity was always listening. Chapter 8, Shadows Strike Back. The Coalition's first act of defiance was an audacious assault on Sigma Solis, a major human trading hub. The attack was swift and brutal, leaving thousands dead and the station in ruins. The Coalition broadcast their victory across the galaxy, urging others to join their cause. For 3 days, humanity did nothing: no retaliation, no speeches, no visible response. The galaxy held its breath, wondering if this rebellion would be the spark that toppled humanity's reign. On the 4th day, humanity answered. A single Coalition base, hidden in a dense asteroid field, was obliterated without warning. The asteroid field itself was turned into a glowing sea of debris, and with it, hundreds of Coalition fighters and their leaders. But the message humanity sent wasn't just destruction. Embedded within the remnants of the Coalition broadcast were humanity's words: we do not seek war, but we do not fear it. Do not test us again. Chapter 9, The Silent War. What followed was not a conventional war. Humanity refused to engage in open conflict, opting instead for a campaign of subterfuge and precision. Coalition leaders disappeared overnight. Their ships found adrift in space with no sign of a struggle. Supply routes were disrupted by mysterious sabotage, and planets sympathetic to the Coalition found their systems mysteriously disabled. The galaxy watched in awe and terror as humanity dismantled the rebellion piece by piece without ever firing a single fleet-wide battle. The Coalition, fractured and desperate, tried to rally their forces for one final stand. They gathered at the hidden world of Darnax Prime, a planet surrounded by a nebula that shielded it from most sensors. But when their fleets arrived, they found the planet empty, its defenses inactive. A single human vessel hovered in orbit, broadcasting a message: the galaxy chose peace, you chose chaos, this is your last chance to surrender. The Coalition refused. Chapter 10, The Reckoning. The battle that followed became known as the Night of Silent Fire. Humanity unleashed weapons unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen: kinetic bombardments that shattered entire fleets in moments, targeted EMP waves that left Coalition ships dead in the void, and drones that moved with eerie precision, picking off survivors one by one. When it was over, not a single Coalition ship remained intact. Humanity had not only crushed the rebellion but left no survivors to continue its legacy. The galaxy shuddered at the efficiency of the destruction. It wasn't war, it was extermination. Chapter 11, The Lesson Learned. In the aftermath, humanity's message was clear: rebellion would not be tolerated, and peace would be enforced at any cost. But humanity did not celebrate their victory. The leaders of Earth issued a solemn declaration: this is not who we wish to be, but you left us no choice. If you seek peace, we will protect it. If you seek chaos, we will end it. The galaxy has suffered enough. And for the first time since humanity snapped, the galaxy began to believe them. Epilogue, A Fragile Balance. In the years that followed, the galaxy settled into an uneasy calm. Species once divided by centuries of war began to cooperate, not out of trust, but out of a shared fear of humanity's wrath. Trade flourished, borders opened, and conflicts were resolved before they could escalate. Yet beneath the surface, the memory of humanity's vengeance lingered. For every peace brokered, there was a whisper of resentment. For every alliance forged, a quiet promise of revenge. And humanity, ever watchful, waited. They had snapped once, and the galaxy had learned the cost. But deep within their heart, humanity hoped they would never have to snap again. For the galaxy had been warned, and this time, there would be no second chance. Chapter 12, The spark rekindled. Peace endured for decades, but it was a peace born of fear, not understanding. Beneath the galaxy's fragile unity, old wounds festered. The Krithan remnants whispered tales of glory stolen, and the Zarkali lamented their fall from power. Even among humanity's allies, resentment grew in quiet corners where fear overshadowed trust. The galaxy might have healed over time if not for a discovery deep within the ruins of the Coalition's last stronghold. A long-lost Zarkali artifact, pulsing with ancient energy, was unearthed. Rumors spread like wildfire that it contained the coordinates to a powerful weapon hidden in the galactic core, one capable of rivaling humanity's might. The whispers of resistance ignited into action once again. This time, it wasn't just the remnants of the old powers but new coalitions of species that had grown tired of humanity's shadow. They called themselves the Unity Accord, a name meant to mock humanity's version of enforced harmony. Chapter 13, Humanity Waits. The Unity Accord moved cautiously at first, assembling their fleets in secret and rallying systems to their cause. They didn't attack humanity outright. Instead, they struck at allies, disabling human trade routes, and infiltrating colonies, leaving chaos in their wake. Their strategy was clear: divide humanity from the rest of the galaxy, isolate them, and weaken their position. For a time, it seemed to work. Diplomatic relations between humanity and its allies grew strained. The Unity Accord's propaganda painted humans as oppressors who maintained peace only for their own benefit. But humanity did not act. They watched, they listened, and they prepared. The Accord took this as a sign of weakness, a crack in the once iron resolve of the species that had brought the galaxy to heel. They couldn't have been more wrong. Chapter 14, The Fall of Aranur Station. The Accord's first major victory came at Aranur Station, a bustling hub that connected the human territories to the rest of the galaxy. A carefully coordinated assault overwhelmed the station's defenses, forcing its human garrison to surrender. The Accord broadcast the victory galaxy-wide, declaring it the first step toward liberation. What they didn't know was that humanity had let it happen. For weeks, humanity had been tracking the Accord's movements, analyzing their strategies, and infiltrating their ranks. When Aranur Station fell, humanity didn't see it as a loss, it was bait, and the Accord had taken it. Chapter 15, The Trap Closes. The Accord wasted no time consolidating their forces at Aranur, transforming the station into their new command center. But as they celebrated their triumph, humanity made their move. A single human ship appeared at the edge of the system. It sent no demands, no warnings, just an encrypted transmission that activated hidden subroutines within the station's systems. Within moments, chaos erupted. Automated defenses turned against the Accord ships, docking clamps locked their fleets in place, and emergency bulkheads sealed their forces inside the station. Humanity's fleet emerged from hyperspace, sleek and silent, surrounding the system like wolves encircling prey. The battle that followed was short and brutal. Human forces didn't just destroy the Accord's fleet, they dismantled it piece by piece, capturing key leaders and taking prisoners rather than slaughtering indiscriminately. Humanity didn't want martyrs, they wanted witnesses. Chapter 16, The Line in the Stars. After the fall of Aranur, humanity addressed the galaxy directly for the first time in years. A holographic projection of a human diplomat appeared in every major system, their expression calm but unyielding. To the leaders of the Unity Accord, you have tested us, and we have answered. This galaxy has suffered enough war, enough division. We offered peace, and you chose rebellion. Know this, there will not be a second warning. Stand down, or we will end this conflict permanently. The message sent shockwaves through the galaxy. Some saw it as a promise of protection, others, a thinly veiled threat. Chapter 17, A Choice for the Galaxy. The Unity Accord hesitated. Their leaders debated in secret, weighing their options. Some argued for surrender, fearing the same fate as the Coalition. Others demanded they press on, convinced humanity's iron grip could only be broken by total defiance. In the end, the decision was made for them. Several of their key members, fearing humanity's wrath, defected, leaking the Accord's secrets to human forces. The Accord crumbled under its own weight, its alliances fractured and its fleets scattered. Humanity didn't pursue the remnants. Instead, they reinforced their borders, issued pardons to defectors, and extended offers of aid to systems caught in the conflict. Epilogue, The Price of Peace. The Unity Accord's collapse marked the end of organized resistance against humanity, but it also solidified their position as the galaxy's dominant force. While peace returned, it came at a cost: Fear of humanity lingered in the hearts of every species, even their allies. Humanity, for its part, grew more introspective. They had fought for peace, but they couldn't ignore the toll it had taken on their identity. Were they protectors, or had they become tyrants? In the quiet years that followed, humanity worked to rebuild trust, fostering cooperation and empowering other species to take part in governance. They knew that true peace couldn't come from force alone, it had to be earned. But the galaxy never forgot the day humanity snapped, nor the terrifying efficiency with which they fought, and though the fires of rebellion were extinguished, embers of resentment smoldered in the dark corners of space. For now, the galaxy held its fragile peace, but everyone knew that if the flames of war ever rose again, humanity would be ready, and this time, there would be no hesitation.